Hello, I'm Kathy Jensen from Discreetly Fit, and I'm very pleased to host this interview because the question is, can you stress yourself fat? I attended a lecture regarding hormonal stuff a while ago. From what I understood, the balance of hormones can go out of whack due to chronic stress, and as a result, weight gain can accelerate and weight loss can become difficult. So this is not only undesirable from a general health and lifestyle and mental health perspective, but also from the perspective of pelvic floor health. So this is because with increased body weight, the pelvic floor must carry a higher load, which promotes incontinence and prolapse. So to discover more on this topic, I contacted Lyn Miller, who thoroughly understands the stress, hormone, weight loss, weight gain relationship. In fact, she has helped dozens of women to lose weight during the hormonal upheaval of menopause and sold over 30,000 books on how to lose weight during menopause. Okay, so I'd like to say hello to Lyn. Hi, Lyn. Thank you very much for doing this interview with me. And my first question to you is it true that chronic stress can accelerate weight gain and makes one resistant to weight loss? And if it's true, can you explain why this is the case?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy, for having me on here. It's an absolute honour, and yeah, always love sharing my knowledge with anyone who wants to listen. So I am a bit of a yakker. So because when I'm passionate about something, Kathy, I do tend to like share lots,
Nice.
and I love to add that. So thank you so much.
Excellent.
For having me on here and sharing this. So yeah, great question. So first of all, and I have got a few PowerPoints here because I think it's really good to have a visual. And, you know, some ladies may know it, some may not, but it's always really good to go over it again and really understand, to answer that question, Kathy, it's really firstly important to understand why stress is a big, huge influencer within weight gain with women 40 plus. So is that okay if I share?
Please, yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So let me just share my screen. Excuse me. Okay. So first of all, what I'd like to share is actually why women over 40 do get fat. Okay, and I love to share this because, you know, basically, you know, there's many reasons why women get fat over 40, but one of them is stress. So let me just share with you, first of all, our cyclic changes as we go from pre-menopause to post-menopause, so that not only, I mean, Kathy, you may understand this, but for women out there that really do have no idea what changes we go through, it's really, it can be an eye-opener. So if we just quickly look at the our menstrual cycle pre-menopause, so when we're talking pre-menopause, we're talking from our first menstrual cycle right up to you know, around 40 years of age, just give or take a few years. So in day one, you know, normal average cycle is day 1 to day 28. Okay, so bear with me as we go through this, and you'll really understand why stress is prevalent. So the first 14 days is what we call the follicular phase, and that's where estrogen is more dominant, as you can see in the blue, and this is where an egg, the follicle, is being formed. Okay, and what happens is estrogen prepares the uterus, the endometrium lining, for pregnancy. So it's building up that lining in preparation for pregnancy. And day 14, of course, we ovulate, and the egg sac breaks open, and from that egg empty egg sac, which we call the corpus luteum, is where the bulk amount of progesterone is produced. So as you can see, day 14 to day 28, progesterone is more dominant. And what happens, progesterone counteracts estrogen and stops the buildup of the lining of the endometrium lining. And if there's no fertilization with the egg, of course, they both drop off and we get a period. Okay, so that is the normal cycle. Okay, and of course, you know, a lot of women in their 20s and 30s, they have abnormal cycles, but this is just a general overview of a normal cycle. Then of course we hit 40. All right, we hit 40, and bingo, things start to go a little bit chaotic, okay? And this is what we call the peri-menopausal years, and that can be from around about 40. Sometimes it starts more around 35 these days, you know, but we average is around about 40 to around about 52. And this is the peri-menopausal years, and I like to call it the estrogen dominance cycle. All right, so if we look at this cycle here, of course, we've got day 1 to day 28 as per normal, the follicular phase, the luteal phase. But what you'll notice here is progesterone is really low. Okay, now what we have to understand here, Kathy, is that in our years building up to menopause, our egg production, we're born with a finite number of eggs, and as we age, they become less and less and less and less. All right, and so when we hit 40, our egg production is really starting to diminish. Okay, which means that not every cycle that we have, not every month, we actually produce an egg. So when we're not producing an egg, it's called an ovulatory cycle. And so what happens is when we don't produce an egg here at day 14, we haven't got that corpus luteum, the empty egg sac, which produces the bulk amount of progesterone, right? So what that means is we haven't got this big surge of progesterone to counteract estrogen. And so what happens, this is a time when women start to get really heavy periods that last forever and real clotty and clunky, you know, and yucky, because what happens is progesterone is not there to stop the buildup of the lining of the uterus. Okay, and so that is what we call an estrogen dominance cycle. Now, estrogen dominance is relative to, you know, to progesterone and estrogen. So you can also have a normal amount of progesterone, but high amounts of estrogen due to toxicity or other estrogen influences, like, you know, toxins on the outside and all that. Okay, so there's a difference between normal estrogen and high estrogen relative to our progesterone. Okay, so when we get high estrogen and low progesterone, we have this big deficit here. All right, and so this is when we start to get all these premenopausal type symptoms, estrogen dominant symptoms. You know, we start to get cellulite, we start to get headaches, we start to have sleep issues, you know, and remember, progesterone is that feel good, okay? It's feel good. And so when we haven't got that low, we've got lower estrogen, we tend to be quite stressed and grumpy and moody. And it's really important to understand that estrogen also, estrogen and progesterone also affect our insulin and cortisol. So when we get to this time in our cycle, our perimenopausal years, we become more stress reactive and insulin resistant. Okay, so this is, we basically become the psycho lady from hell in this phase, right? And little things just send us off the deep end, and we just fly into this frenzy of stress.
It certainly helps to understand if somebody has that experience, that it's not that there's something wrong with the person, but there is actually a physical explanation behind it. I think that can be very empowering in handling the situation.
Absolutely. But it's also important to remember that there are outside influences as well. Okay, so this here is just our normal type cycle. Okay, but what happens, Kathy, is in our normal day life, we also have other stresses as well because of our lifestyle choices that we're making.
Okay.
So, and this exacerbates this scenario here.
That's right, feeds into it.
Yes, it just feeds into it, okay? And so then, of course, during our perimenopausal years, we're actually preparing for our menopausal years. So when our ovaries start to dry up, as a sense, you know, that, for lack of another word, they don't really stop functioning. They kind of just dry up and stop producing eggs. We use our adrenal glands as our backup glands, okay?
Oh.
Our fat cells also produce estrogen as well, but our adrenal glands are our main, going into menopause, are going to be our main source of, you know, our main reserve for estrogen and progesterone, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is in this perimenopausal stage here, we become so stressed out through, you know, rushing around with the kids, looking after our parents, you know, our mental stress as well, because we don't like who we are. We're putting on weight, and no matter what we do, we can't lose it, you know, and all sorts of, we're doing 10 jobs trying to make, we have financial stress, you know, all that sort of thing. We're not sleeping, you know, we're eating crappy food because, you know, it's all that I'm so busy, you know.
No time to cook.
So going into menopause, where our adrenal glands are supposed to be backing us up, they're absolutely exhausted. All right. And so when we get to our postmenopausal years, when our estrogen and progesterone drop off, and estrogen can drop off up to 60% of its menopause levels, and progesterone can drop off to nearly zero, we require our adrenals to be really resourceful, you know, and healthy in order to be able to produce enough progesterone and estrogen to keep us going in our menopausal years. And let's face it, you know, our menopausal years are for the next 30 to 40 years, right? So there's nothing worse than going through the next 30 to 40 years, you know, grumpy, bitchy, itchy, sleepy, you know, and all that, right? So the health of our adrenal glands is like vital. But it's not. Most women are so stressed that their adrenals are completely
depleted,
exhausted.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're exhausted due to outside contributing factors, you know, environmental toxins, gut issues, constipation, you know, dysfunctional thyroid, which, you know, is a vicious circle because stress, you know, affects our estrogen and our thyroid, nutritional deficiencies, sluggish liver, you know, alcohol, and over-the-counter prescriptions. Stress just in itself, you know, it kind of like it feeds into each other, you know, digestive. Too much exercise can be a stress. And then also our mindset as well going into menopause and can cause us stress, you know, through the choices. So it's just, when we talk about stress, it's just not emotional. You know, we've got the physical stress, we've got the financial stress, you know, we've got the metaphysical stress, you know, there's all sorts of different stress that we go through. And as a result, you know, the imbalances cause us to become very weight loss resistant, okay, and especially if we're toxic, because of, as you can see, the liver, you know, our stressed out adrenals, and our hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis is very stressed, and we're living in our fight and flight part of our nervous system, and our rest and digest is just non-existent. And you've got to have that yin and the yang, and this is why women are putting on weight, and just no matter what they're doing as far as food and exercise, nothing's happening. All right, because it's not just about food and exercise. Okay.
Wow.
I hope I've asked your question nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems to me that if somebody is experiencing that issue, that I'm just putting on more and more weight, and no matter what I do, I cannot lose it. It goes way beyond just diet and, try to get some exercise. It can be a whole knot of issues that need to be untangled. So I guess it goes back into basic self-care, doesn't it?
Yeah. So one of the biggest, I guess, to debunk a myth,
Yeah,
that weight loss is just about food and exercise. It is, it is and it isn't, because food and exercise certainly influence our hormones, good or bad, okay? But if we take a step back, our hormones influence everything. Okay, whether it's our fat distribution, our fat burning, our hormones really influence everything. So, what in essence, when it comes to losing weight for a woman, first of all, they have to know their current hormonal situation. First and foremost, that's really, really important to understand that, and then they really do have to take an honest look at their lifestyle choices. And when we say lifestyle choices, our lifestyle choices come from our mind and our mindset. So in order to change our lifestyle choices, we have to change up here. And the biggest mistake that women make is that they don't change up here. They just work on food and exercise. And this is why so many women can lose 20, 30, and even 50 kilos. And then after a year or 2 years, they put it all back on again.
that's
And some.
right. Because it's not an
Because,
in-depth conviction, it's just ticking boxes.
right, exactly. So basically what they've got, weight loss is easy, all right? Because you can lose weight, but the hardest thing is keeping it off. And if you don't work on those limiters that are in your mind that actually got you fat in the first place, you're only going to become a skinny person with the same beliefs, and eventually those beliefs are going to take over again, and you're going to be putting back the weight back on again.
That's right.
So, and as much as so many women think the mind is all this woo-woo sort of stuff, it is the actual crux of how we live.
Yes, you can't separate
and particularly how we move through menopause. And as simple as, oh, my mum had a hard time going through menopause, so I'm bound to.
I have to suffer the same.
My mum at 50 became diabetic, so chances are I'm likely to become diabetic too.
That's right. It's just having that surrender into, that's just what's going to happen to me. That's just my path, but it doesn't have to be. We have the power to influence that.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest power. So, if a woman is overweight and, experiencing some sort of menopausal symptoms, it is our mind that got us there in the first place. So it's our mind that can get out of there.
That's
so,
right.
So it's just about, working on our mindset as far as looking and being honest, because that's the first thing. We got to be honest. If we don't like where we are, we got to be honest with ourselves. So when it comes to hormone imbalance, we've got to understand why we are hormonally imbalanced.
Yes. Lyn.
And the only way we're going to know what our hormonal imbalance is get them tested in the first place. But if I can just give a small snippet, there's different ways of getting your hormones tested. We can go off to the doctor, and have blood tests. But what we have to remember is going to a GP is they are general practitioners. Okay, so they don't actually specialize in hormones. Some are very good. The majority, just go by the book. And so when we get our hormones tested, blood is not as accurate as something like saliva.
Okay.
Because of the fact is that we have bound hormones and we have free hormones. And it is our free hormones that are most active. And so when we test through blood, it actually tests our free and our bound. So we don't actually get an accurate percentage of what is active, you know, the free hormones, unless we test our serum hormone binding globulin, and most doctors don't test that.
Okay.
Right? So the more, it's not to say that blood isn't good, but what happens is when they go to the doctor, you know, a doctor will look at an average reference range, and as long as you fall within that reference range, you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't matter, or you're normal. It doesn't matter whether you're experiencing hot flushes, whether you're putting on weight, whether you're not sleeping or anything. If you fall within that range, you're okay.
Okay, all right.
So doctors, general GPs are not trained holistically to look at your symptoms and look at the reference range and go, oh, you're at the low end, you're at the high end, let's test for anything else or any, you know, they just general look at that reference range.
Okay, so where do you go to get that saliva test? Where can you get that done?
You can get that from naturopaths, of course. Naturopaths have do saliva testing. You know, personal trainers, you know, that there's personal trainers out there that specialize in hormones and do saliva testing. So you know, I educate personal trainers on
wonderful. Okay. Okay, do you have a list of trainers maybe on your website that people can contact?
Yeah, look, absolutely, yeah. I do have a list of trainers that can help, that are around Australia and in New Zealand.
Oh, wonderful. What is your website, Lyn?
So you know, there's different places, but it's important to find someone, and whether it's a GP or whatever, but that's going to help holistically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine it would be, you know, when you showed how many influencing factors there are for a woman to feel a certain way, that would be quite difficult to untangle ourselves. So it is really something that it's best to get outside help. But I think the most important thing to know that there is help. So it is possible. So if somebody feels that, you know, the body is going out of control, they feel like a crazy woman sometimes, the buttons are pressed so easily to lead the stresses, there is help. We should do something about it. Is that right?
Absolutely. And the most important thing is just don't accept one diagnosis as a general rule. So for example, if you're going off to the doctor and you're feeling really bad, you're not sleeping, you know, you just have that intuition that something is not right, and you go off to the doctor and they say that you're all normal, be proactive in seeking another opinion.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because that is just so important, because like I said, there is nothing worse than going through the rest of your life feeling horrible when you don't have to.
Yes, that's right.
And you deserve good health.
Yeah.
So it's really important to really seek alternative, and keep seeking, keep doing, keep going until you get the answers that you are looking for, because it is your right to be proactive in preventing health-related issues.
Especially if the help is out there, and as you said, if you don't need to feel bad in, you know, in how you feel. Thank you so much, Lyn. This has been really, really enlightening. I will share your details accompanying this post, so your website where people can contact you if they have any further questions, or if they want to get in touch with one of your personal trainers, and your book. Where can we buy your book?
Oh, my ebook, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, look, if they want to just PM me, I'm quite happy to send a copy of to any lady that's interested in getting my ebook.
Okay,
How to Lose Weight.
Thank you. Okay, that's
so just get them to PM me privately, and I'll just flick them a copy. That's like no problem at all.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much again. And I think this is really invaluable information because especially around menopause, you know, it's so hard to find reliable information or know what to do when you know, is this normal? Do I have to suffer through it? Will it go away? Oh, it's not too bad. You know, I can tolerate it. But really have the power of knowledge that you can do something about it and you don't have to suffer it. That really is invaluable. So thank you again so much. And as I said, I will share your detail accommodating this post as well. Thanks so much, Lyn.
Thank you, Kathy. It's been an honour. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you asking me to come on and share a little bit of knowledge. I hope I've added value to you and your clients and whoever else is watching. So yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Kathy.
Absolutely, and thank you for your time as well. All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So this was my interview with Lyn Miller. She has a terrific site, Meno Fitness, with fitness professionals and other health professionals you can contact to help to sort out your hormones. And I'd like to thank her one more time. I think it was terrific information and very empowering for women around menopause. So very grateful to have her. Now remember, at menopause, pelvic floor exercises are perhaps more important than ever to counteract the impact that the hormonal changes have on your pelvic floor. And it's another area where you don't have to put up with little leaks, then the sinking of the pelvic organs and urgencies, but you can be proactive. If you are serious about that, check out discreetlyfit.com.au and I can equip you with all self-management practices and pelvic floor exercises. Thank you for listening. If you have a topic that you'd be interested about finding out from a professional who knows it best, send me a message and see if I can set up an interview just for you. Thank you for listening again, and Kathy Janssens from Discreetly Fit signing off.